We spent a lot of the offseason worrying about Ohio State's defensive line depth, and now it feels like it's gotten to a point where they might be redshirting one of their defensive linemen, and we're like, it's okay because they've got depth behind those guys. I'm Steven, that's Stefan, and that's Andrew. Stefan, we talked with Ryan Day. He got asked about the defensive line depth today, but also, given who they're playing this weekend, this seems like an opportunity for this defensive line to really get after a quarterback again. Just from how Ryan Day talked about the defensive line depth, evaluate where it is 5 games into the season.
I think it's in a much better spot than maybe we projected, because I think the top end guys, Caden McDonald, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, are producing at a high level, and part of that was they were still kind of improving. So step one was making sure your top level guys were ready to go, and then step two was making sure you had some depth. And you look at Bo Atkinson, you look at Zion Grady, who's come along and earned some snaps as a freshman. You look at Will Smith Jr. and Tywan Malone, who's now starting for you. Edric Houston, I actually think, despite him getting banged up, was playing his best game against Minnesota before he came off the field. So you've got more depth there, I think, than where you thought you were. Definitely in August, definitely in the spring too. I mean, in the spring, Ryan Day was very concerned about what he had in that unit, and you're in a good spot now because it does allow you to do a bunch of different things. I think, first of all, against Illinois, this is going to be an opportunity for Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson and Bo Atkinson to kind of feast, because I forgot to mention Jarquez Carter. He's part of that mix too. But these guys are going to have a chance to feast, because what Indiana did against Illinois' defensive line was just pure dominance. And Ohio State's defensive line is right up there with Indiana's, among the best in the Big Ten, if not the best in the Big Ten. I know there were injuries that played a part in Illinois' offensive line, but this is going to be a chance to really get after Luke Altmaier and really affect the game up front and in the trenches. And also allows you, with the depth piece, to, like you said, C.J. Hicks, you can redshirt him now. You can say, hey, he's played his 4 games. Barring any injuries, we don't need him the rest of the regular season. He can play in the CFP. That doesn't count toward his eligibility. And you've just given him another year to develop at a new position, and then go into next year and maybe have a bigger role for this team, right? Because we don't know what this roster is going to look like next year, who leaves, who comes back. So your depth and your production has allowed you to, A, dominate against the teams you're playing against, but B, also kind of look ahead to the future. And that's about as good of a spot as you can be in terms of a position room.
Assuming Hicks doesn't play again this year, because he's not going to play another game this year in the regular season, barring some type of injury, which is why everybody was holding their breath when Kenyatta Jackson went down. Ryan Day did say they're hoping to get him back this week and hoping to have a full week of practice. So maybe this is no different than the Texas game where he missed the rest of that game and then he plays the next week. But is there a young guy, Andrew, on the defensive end room, that part of the defensive line, that maybe benefits from the fact that they now just moved up on the depth chart, because C.J. Hicks is probably not going to play again for the rest of the regular season?
Is there another answer other than Zion Grady?
If you wanted to pick one there, you could, but that's the answer I would pick.
Yeah, I don't think that there is another answer, and I think he's the guy that you kind of look to, because Caden Curry's been really good, and Kenyatta Jackson, he's been, flashy in spots. I think obviously he's been banged up a couple of times this year, but you have Arvell Reese coming off the edge in certain situations. That's been really beneficial. I mean, it's made him somebody who you start to kind of hear the buzz of top half of the first round draft picks, and it's partially because of what he's doing as a pass rusher. So you have him in certain spots as an edge rusher. Bo Atkinson, we talked about. I think you've got a solid top of the line, and then you can supplement that with Zion Grady. You feel really good about that, and you feel good that, hey, this is about the time that freshmen should start to make that jump, right? Like, we're in the first week of October now, and I know he's still a freshman. I know he's still young. I know he's going to get better. I know he's got to put on weight. I know he's got to learn football more and better than he does now, and that's no disrespect to him. It's just he's 18 years old. We look at this defense and go, you know what? He's been here since January. He's been around the program for approaching a year now, and this is kind of what Edric Houston did last year. Now, Edric did, he made a move to the interior, so I don't think we're going to see that with Zion. But this is kind of the time where it's, hey, man, you've been here a little bit. Let's start to see some flashes. And I think he played 10 snaps against Minnesota, 9 the week before. I think you're starting to see something here with Zion. So, yeah, to me, he's the guy who kind of takes that leap, but it's only done because I have been really impressed. I think the depth is one thing. It's the top of the line of the room that has been really, really impressive. You lose Jack Sawyer, you lose JT Tuimoloau. I mean, that's one thing. It's a second-round pick and a fourth, or was Jack a fourth-round pick, fifth-round pick? He was a day 3 pick, but he was still an NFL draft pick. And he was one of the more notable players in program history. You lose 2 interior defensive linemen to the NFL who were collapsed in the pocket, and you just start to think like, man, I wonder if that ceiling's going to be there. And I think if we had come into the year and been like, hey, Edric's going to have this level of inconsistency, I think we would have all been pretty down on this defensive line if we had known that in July. And yet, because of what the top line is doing and what that top group of edge rushers are doing, you feel really good about this. And that kind of allows you the freedom to play a guy like Zion Grady.
Is this the defensive line better than last year's defensive line?
I struggle to say that yet, just because of how I think they're more consistent than last year's defensive line.
I think that's fair. More consistent.
I also think Matt Patricia's using different formations up front better than last year's unit did.
Oh, so you're blaming the defensive coordinator?
I mean, I watched the game at Oregon that they lost.
I also watched the game in Pasadena this past weekend.
So it's something about going west for that guy that just kind of struggles. I'm trying to think out how to say this. JT and Jack came on in the playoff. Tyleek was consistent. And Ty Hamilton was consistent, but the ceiling didn't really get reached for those 4 guys into the playoff. Caden Curry has 5 sacks. The only guy over the last 7 years since Ryan Day became the head coach who has more sacks in the first 5 games of the season, he had 16.5 by the end of the year, and his name is Shea Young. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, but Caden Curry has 5 sacks. Kenyatta Jackson if he just stops getting head injuries and stays on the field, he's been awesome. I mean, Tyleek Williams is a first-round draft pick, because I don't want to take away from that. But he said that Caden McDonald was a mini-me, and so far he has been proven to be a prophet with the way that he has played. Edric had a better game against Minnesota. He is not 100% healthy. Now, does that explain the penalties? No, but he is not 100% healthy. Will Smith has come along. Tywan Malone has been a bit of a revelation there. And as you mentioned, Zion Grady, I thought he flashed on Saturday. Fine. It's probably too early to say it's better than a group that won a national championship, and that's who they won the championship on the backs of. But I do see the signs of, by the time we get to the playoff, is this group going to be better? We talked about it all offseason with this defensive line. We are either going to learn, oh, this is why you weren't playing for the last 3 years, or we're going to be going, how come you weren't playing more over the last 3 years? And I think the latter is starting to win out here. And Illinois is another opportunity to prove that. Wisconsin the following week's another week to prove that. Penn State is apparently another week to prove it is. You continue to prove that week in and week out, but the defensive line has gone from the biggest question mark to this defense, and now it's becoming a strength. And now we're looking for flaws in this defense, and we can't find any. Get the text 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. And go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. We go live every Wednesday. We're moving our time to 11. Starting next week, we're going to do noon this week because this is what we're used to. But we go live every Wednesday on YouTube. Come check us out. We have a good time there. Steve and Stefan, Andrew, talk to you later.